Did you know that Cesar Chavez, the guy who, became such a symbol for farm workers' rights, actually started his movement with just 10 members?
Really?
Yeah, himself, his wife, and all 8 of their kids.
Wow.
Talk about dedication, right?
That's incredible.
Today we're going to do a deep dive into the life and legacy of Cesar Chavez.
Okay.
And we've got some excerpts from Cesar Chavez to help kind of guide us along the way.
Sounds good. I'm excited to learn about.
Yeah, me too. And it's a pretty remarkable story, how one person's commitment to social justice can spark a nationwide movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how one person can have such a huge impact.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, I think, right?
For sure.
We're talking about a man who, literally grew up in the fields.
Right.
He wasn't some outsider who just decided one day that this was a worthy cause.
Exactly. He knew the struggles firsthand.
Yeah, exactly.
Born in 1927 near Yuma, Arizona, Chavez experienced the really harsh realities of farm labor firsthand.
I can't even imagine.
Think about it as a child, working under this scorching sun, facing constant uncertainty, and, just being exploited by these, really powerful growers. It's not surprising that he became such a, passionate advocate for change.
It really makes you think, right? Those early experiences must have really shaped his worldview.
Oh, absolutely. He saw the backbreaking labor, the meager wages, and this constant threat of illness or injury.
Oh, yeah.
He understood the systemic injustices that kept farm workers, slapped in this cycle of poverty.
Yeah, it's like a never-ending cycle. So
Yeah.
he decides, okay, I'm going to take on these, powerful growers, right?
Right.
In 1962, he forms the National Farm Workers Association.
Okay.
But here's the thing. He starts it with just $1,200 and those 10 family members.
Wow. That's it.
That's it.
That's amazing.
It's such a testament to his belief in his vision.
Absolutely. Imagine taking that kind of leap of faith, betting everything on a dream.
I know. And it wasn't just a dream. It was a huge challenge, right?
Yes.
These growers controlled everything. They controlled the fields, the courts.
Yeah.
They even had influence over local law enforcement.
It's how do you even begin to fight something like that?
I know, right? It's crazy.
Well, this is where Chavez's, I think, brilliance comes in, and the influence of Mahatma Gandhi. So he had adopted these principles of nonviolent resistance, and it's not just about being peaceful. You know what I mean? It's about using, very strategic methods like boycotts and strikes and marches to expose injustice, without resorting to violence.
So he's kind of taking inspiration from Gandhi, but he's applying it in this very unique American context.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, one of the most powerful examples of this is his 25-day water fast in 1968.
Wow.
And this wasn't just some personal sacrifice. It was a strategic move to kind of grab the nation's attention.
I can't even imagine the strength it took to do that, 25 days without food or water.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. Think about the message that it sent, though. It forced people to kind of confront this question, how can a nation that prides itself on, abundance allow the people who harvest their food to suffer in these deplorable conditions?
It really does kind of highlight that hypocrisy.
Yeah, for sure.
And it wasn't just symbolic. This fast actually helped prepare his most famous campaign, right? The Delano Grape boycott.
Right.
So this boycott, which lasted 5 years,
Wow.
from 1965 to 1970, was a huge, a watershed moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine this. People across the country refusing to buy grapes
Wow.
in solidarity with the farm workers. Could imagine, giving up something that you enjoy that much.
I don't know. It's a lot to ask, but it really shows, how much people believed in the cause.
Totally. It wasn't just about the grapes themselves, right?
No, of course not.
It was about hitting the growers where it hurt, their profits,
Right.
and forcing them to recognize the humanity of the workers.
Yeah.
But even with all the success of the boycott, Chavez's journey wasn't without its obstacles.
Of course not. Yeah. What happened?
His activism often landed him in, legal trouble. He faced jail time for his actions.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting because those jail sentences almost became rallying points for the movement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, supporters held these constant vigils outside of his cell. It's like they turned his imprisonment into this really powerful symbol of resistance.
So it almost backfired on the authorities.
Totally, yeah. By trying to silence him, they actually amplified his message.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So even when he's physically confined, his influence continued to grow. It just speaks to the power of his ideas and the dedication of his supporters.
Totally.
And that's not all. As Chavez's influence grew, so did the scrutiny and internal debates within the movement itself.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, one of the most complex aspects of his legacy is his stance on undocumented immigrants.
Okay.
And this is where things get a little bit more, complicated.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because Chavez actually viewed undocumented immigrants as like a potential threat to the gains that the union had made.
So he was worried about competition within the workforce?
Kind of, yeah. He believed that they could be used as strikebreakers, which would then undercut the bargaining power of the UFW.
I see.
Which is hard to grapple with, right? Because you think about his overall message of, fighting for the rights of farm workers.
Yeah, it seems contradictory.
Exactly, yeah.
It makes you wonder how his personal experiences shaped that perspective.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's tough to judge someone from a different time, but it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's just a reminder that, even the most revered figures, they have their own, complex viewpoints, right?
Yeah.
And this stance actually created a lot of tension within the movement. Because some people argued that it contradicted, the UFW's message of inclusivity and solidarity.
Right.
It's just a reminder that history is full of these nuances and contradictions.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to acknowledge those, even when we're discussing someone as, iconic as Cesar Chavez. But despite all this controversy, his impact, especially for the Latino community, it's undeniable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He became like a national hero, a symbol of courage and perseverance. And his movement, I think, transcended just the fight for farm workers' rights. It ignited this wave of pride and political activism among Latinos all across the country.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible how the UFW kind of became this training ground for future activists, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People who went on to lead different progressive movements and, carrying forward the spirit of his work.
It's amazing to think about the ripple effect of his legacy. He empowered a whole generation to fight for social justice, not just in the fields, but in every facet of American life.
Totally.
And, his message of service to others, it still resonates today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time. He had this great quote. He said, "The end of all education should surely be service to others."
Oh, wow.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
It challenges us to kind of look beyond ourselves and think about how our actions can really make a difference in other people's lives.
Absolutely. What are we doing for others? It's a good question for all of us to ask.
Yeah, definitely.
And it kind of makes you think, what injustices are we willing to confront? What sacrifices are we willing to make for our communities and for society as a whole?
Yeah, that's deep.
It's a good question.
It's about finding our own version of the Great Boycott, right? Figuring out what causes we're passionate about and how we can take a stand, just like Chavez did.
Yeah, absolutely. Find what matters to you and go for it. I mean, you don't have to fast for 25 days or anything, but find your own way to contribute.
Totally.
What speaks to you?
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's something small, every little bit counts.
For sure.
Right.
It all adds up. It really is about identifying, those things that speak to us on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And how can we make that happen? How can we contribute to positive change?
Yeah, and I think that's what's so inspiring about Chavez's story, right?
Yeah.
He showed us that even when you're facing overwhelming odds, one person can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And his story also reminds us that, the fight for social justice isn't over. It's ongoing.
Totally.
The issues that, Chavez dedicated his life to, fair wages and safe working conditions, the right to organize.
Right.
These are still relevant today,
Big time.
Not just for farm workers.
It's true. Yeah, and it's kind of a powerful reminder that history isn't just, something we read about in textbooks.
Right.
It's something that we're still, living and grappling with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, how Chavez's legacy continues to inspire activism and social change movements today.
Oh, for sure.
His tactics like nonviolent resistance and community organizing and boycotts.
Yeah.
These have been adopted by countless groups advocating for all sorts of causes.
It's like his approach went beyond just, the specific issues he was fighting for at the time.
Right.
It's like it became like a blueprint for anyone who wants to challenge injustice and create a more equitable world.
Yeah, and it's not just the tactics, it's the principles, that he embodied courage and perseverance, this deep commitment to social justice,
Yeah.
and the belief that everyday people can come together and create this extraordinary change.
Totally. I mean, his famous quote, "Si si puede."
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
That's become a rallying cry for movements far beyond, the fields of California.
Absolutely. It's incredible how that message has resonated with so many different people and movements.
It really is.
It's a testament to the power of, hope and collective action.
Totally.
And it's a reminder that, even when things seem really tough, we shouldn't give up hope.
So as we delve a little bit deeper into Chavez's legacy,
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to ask ourselves, what can we learn from his story?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And how can we actually, apply those lessons to our own lives.
Well, one of the things that stands out to me is, this idea of personal sacrifice. Like Chavez fasted for 25 days to bring attention to, what these farm workers were going through.
Yeah.
That's a pretty remarkable act of, selflessness and commitment.
Yeah, it really makes you think, right?
For sure.
What are we willing to give up to, to fight for what we believe in?
It's a challenge for all of us, I think, to examine our own comfort zones and consider how we can, how can we be more active, more engaged citizens?
Right, yeah. And maybe it's not about fasting for 25 days.
Right.
But maybe it's about, volunteering our time or donating to causes that we really believe in.
Yeah.
Or speaking out against injustice.
Exactly. It's about finding, even those small acts of courage that when they're combined with, the actions of other people,
right,
they can create a ripple effect and lead to real change.
Totally. So as we wrap up, this deep dive into the life and legacy of Cesar Chavez,
yeah,
I think the question that we're left with is this: what is our own personal si se puede moment?
That's a good question.
What speaks to our conscience so deeply that we're actually willing to take a stand and dedicate our time and energy to creating, a more just and equitable world?
It's something to really think about for sure. And as we reflect on Chavez's story, let's remember that each one of us has the potential to be a force for good in the world.
Totally.
We just have to find the courage to act.
And on that inspiring note, I think that's about it for our deep dive today.
Yeah.
I hope you found this as enlightening and, thought-provoking as we did.
Me too. And, until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and remember, si se puede. It's easy to talk about making a difference, but it's way harder to actually do it,
Oh, yeah.
Chavez's story really challenges us to think about, what are we actually willing to do to make a change happen?
Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in, our everyday lives and kind of forget about, the bigger picture.
Totally.
But Chavez's life reminds us that we all, have this role to play in making a more just and fair society.
Right, and that's, one of the most inspiring things about his legacy.
Right.
He really showed us that even, seemingly small acts of courage can have this huge ripple effect.
Yeah, you think about the Delana grape boycott.
Oh, yeah.
Millions of people just deciding not to buy grapes.
Right.
Individually, it might have seemed like a small thing, but collectively it made a huge impact.
It just shows you how powerful it could be when people come together for a cause.
Absolutely.
Our actions, even when they seem small, they can contribute to something so much bigger than ourselves.
And it's not always about these big grand gestures either.
Right.
It's about the everyday choices we make,
Yep, totally.
It's about, supporting those businesses that are treating their workers fairly.
Yeah.
Or, speaking up when you see something that's not right, even if it's, a little uncomfortable to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that also means being, informed citizens, right?
Absolutely.
Educating ourselves on the things that are important to us and then, using our voices to push for change.
Exactly. And that's what Chavez did so well. He didn't just fight for the farm workers. He educated the public and raised awareness and built this movement that went way beyond California and even crossed cultural differences.
It's amazing how he was able to bring so many different people together.
It really is.
He showed us that it's possible to, build bridges and connect with folks from all different backgrounds and unite them around, this shared purpose.
And that's, such a powerful message, especially in today's world. We're constantly bombarded with stuff that tries to divide us, that emphasizes our differences.
Totally.
But Chavez's life reminds us that, we actually have way more in common than we might realize.
Right. We all want a world where everyone is treated with respect and dignity,
Absolutely.
where everyone has the opportunity to really thrive.
And it's up to all of us to figure out, how we can actually make that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's through volunteering. Maybe it's donating to organizations that are fighting for social justice. Maybe it's even just having tough conversations with your family and friends.
Right. Whatever it looks like for you, it's about taking action and not just being complacent when you see injustice happening around you.
Exactly.
And remembering that even when things look really tough, change is possible.
Always.
Like Chavez said, si se puede.
Yes, we can.
So powerful, right?
Very powerful.
A great message to end on.
It reminds us that hope and working together can overcome even the most difficult obstacles.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life of Cesar Chavez,
yeah,
I really hope you'll think about how you can continue his work,
Absolutely.
What small act of courage can you take today to make the world a little bit better, a little more just?
It's something to think about and, remember that even if you feel like you're just one person, your actions matter and they can make a difference.
Yeah, it all starts with just one person, one idea, one act of courage.
That's so true.
Well, that's it for today's deep dive into the truly remarkable life of Cesar Chavez.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, thanks for coming.
I hope everyone listening found it insightful and inspiring.
Yeah, me too. And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep fighting for a better tomorrow.
That's it.
And remember, sí se puede.